welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Omari Akil here with me today. How you doing, Omari?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, Cedric.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, right off the top, man, I like your studio space. It's very, very intriguing. What's going on back there?
So the wall over here, this is just games, games and whatever other nerdy toys and whatnot. I got two Black Panther Funko Pops. And yeah, everything else is basically just games.
Right.
And over here I got shoes because I needed somewhere to put them, and it was like, well,
Right.
I like my shoes, so I might as well put them on display so other people can see them. Especially now because I can't wear them. I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. And in fact, unless it's virtually, you're only going places virtually.
Exactly.
Any of your games back there?
Yeah. So I have two of mine. Rap Gods is back there. And I have prototypes of Hoop Gods, which is our newest game that's about to come out. So I got that prototype box up there too.
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking to a gentleman who is doing something different from a lot of the people I know. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation because, you know, sometimes it's about blazing your own trail. It's about doing what you want to do. It's about being a creative, and it's about manifesting that which you want to create. He's done just that. So I want you to let a fellow creative know that we're talking to somebody in the building worth listening to, worth watching, and everybody tune in. So Omari, where are you from?
Originally New Orleans. I was born and raised there. Didn't leave New Orleans until I graduated high school, and kind of never went back. But that's my roots.
Yeah. Where about in New Orleans?
So I grew up in Algiers, so on the West Bank. We moved to that house when I was like 5, and we got to chill. It's a nice neighborhood to kind of like chill out. We live right next to a park, so that was perfect for just like being able to go outside and play outside and play basketball on the weekends and stuff with my friends. Yeah, real kind of laid back like spot.
That's good to hear about New Orleans. And in fact, I've actually had different conversations where people let me know there's a lot of good communities in New Orleans. We just might not know about a lot of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. New Orleans is such a special place because you can find really nice communities, really nice neighborhoods in so many different areas of the city. And it's pockets too. It's weird. You just never kind of know when you're gonna just like run into some amazing spot in the city, and it's like, oh, this is great. I didn't know this was here.
Right.
I go back and I'm still surprised because I explore now because I'm older, and I get out and go to places that I would have never went to before, and I'm like, wow, this city is crazy nice.
Right. Yeah, you know what? You do stuff like that when you get older. You might go back to your hometown or any city for that matter, and just appreciate different things. You know, some people call it getting lost, but you know, sometimes you're just going on an adventure, discovering a new place, you know, checking out the architecture and appreciating it.
Yeah, one of my favorite places when I went back there, and I just needed a place to work, and I was just looking for coffee shops to work at and stuff. Ended up at a spot that is next to a cemetery, and the whole vibe is just like this weird, creepy vibe with cemetery stuff. And I'm like, man, I would have never ventured off and found a place like that when I was living there.
Exactly.
But now it's cool to go back and see the city in a whole different way.
You know, and I think we got a lot of places like that across America. It's like every city has something unique about it. Every place that you go, there's something to be found there. There's something to be discovered. And so it's good to hear that you did that in your city. I got to get down to New Orleans. I've never been out there. There.
Fantastic place to visit. Yeah. I don't know how it is right now, but as soon as things start opening back up again, it's totally worth it. It's an amazing place from a cultural perspective. Like there's literally no place like it that I have ever been. that even feels like it remotely compares.
Wow. Talk about the culture there then. I mean, from the crawfish to the seasoning to the music to Mardi Gras. Give us some of that New Orleans culture. What's going on over there?
I mean, to me, the music is really the thing that stands out to me as like unforgettable and unmatched. I've never been to a place where on a Tuesday night you can walk down a street and there's 7 bars playing live music that you can walk into for free. That's unimaginable in any place that I've been before. And the food is fantastic too. What I like about the culture around the food of New Orleans is how many cultures got blended together to create it, right? So you have the Spanish influence, the French influence, obviously the Caribbean and influence from Black slaves who were there and bringing up their own culture. And all of those things got mixed in crazy ways there. And it feels like that presented it such a unique flavor and style that is amazing. And there's really good food a lot of places, but New Orleans manages to do it in a way where it's hard to find bad food in New Orleans. Like it's hard to find bad food. You kind of have to work at it. You have to go to like a tourist trap. You know, it's those kinds of spots that usually don't deliver. A lot of those places even are great too. So you have to work to find bad food though.
And what's spirituality like there? Is it big as well? And is it unique?
It feels, it does. I don't know that it feels particularly unique. And that's also something that I haven't explored a lot in terms of how different people kind of practice their spirituality. And so I can't speak to it a lot. But there are a few kind of like underground spiritual cultures there that you hear about, but I've never really seen or had them in my presence necessarily.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So do you have brothers and sisters?
2. Yeah. Older brother who actually runs the board game company with me, and older sister who is just brilliant. She's amazing. She's a longtime educator. She's I believe like the vice president of a nonprofit organization that helps high school kids get certifications in like electrical work and digital media and stuff like that. And they develop programs for them. And she's dynamite. So yeah, I think we're a talented bunch, the 3 of us. My brother's the artist too on all our games. So he does all of the art that you see in all of our games. He's done every piece of it. And he's incredible. So yeah, we're pretty good.
Where did the artistic expression come from in your family? Do you have grandparents or aunts and uncles who are also artists in that way, or did it start with y'all?
That one's hard. I think our, just in terms of our parents and grandparents, there's a couple things that stand out to me. Definitely. My grandmother was a seamstress her entire life, like literally up until she died. She was sewing for people. She made my sister's entire wedding dress like it was nothing, and it was gorgeous. So I feel like being around somebody who has that much passion for any one particular craft is definitely going to leave an imprint on you. I think we all felt that because we were all, we all would be in the house and present while that was happening. Right. And you got to watch, she had a giant chest that was full of patterns, and you got to see like how things go from nothing to something, which was really nice. My dad also has always been artistic. And he was a photographer by trade for like 25 years. And so I think that definitely also, it gave us all permission to be artistic and to be creative. Absolutely. Because we did have those people around us who were okay with that. And also my dad being a serial entrepreneur, like he's started and run I don't know how many businesses at this point. And right now he runs a mentoring nonprofit for middle school boys. And, you know, him constantly taking a risk is the other piece that allowed us to push ourselves out to
Right.
do whatever it was, because not only did we have permission to be creative, but we understood that taking risk is sometimes the necessary step that you have to take. And that, I mean, that was huge for me starting this board game company, because it was so different, and it was I was leaving a tech position, so in order to do that, so huge risk to jump over to this side and start working on this stuff.
Right. But the seeds were definitely planted there because, like you said, your grandmother, I mean, she's creating, and it's a long process. And so you're watching her be artistic. That's a very artistic thing to do. She's being creative. She's putting in a lot of hours to get these things done. She's doing it day in and day out. And then your father is showing you how to take a particular product or service and go outside and put legs on it. And so that combination of the two, like you said, it made you apt to go out there. You were destined to go out there and create something. You ain't somebody was going to go outside and create something. And so, you know, that's what it sounds like y'all did. So what were some of the things that you saw your father go out there and do that really inspired you in particular?
I mean, there's quite a few of those. I think some of the ones that hit me pretty hard were he started his own newspaper. That one was probably the most interesting to me because I didn't understand, and a big component of what my dad focuses on in terms of just creating anything, it's always community based. And what I didn't realize at the time, like when he started that newspaper, was how much he was doing that as an investment into the community, as a way to deliver messages, as a way to communicate things to people who might not necessarily get them otherwise, and to provide opportunities for people to be able to spread what the messages that they need to spread to their community. And so that like, you know, kind of small local paper operation really, I think, spoke to me in terms of business as a service to your community. And I think that's something that we took with us and we put into our business model also, is we have a huge community service element to it. It's harder in the beginning stages of building a company, but like it's always something that we're thinking about, trying to incorporate in some way. And I think we've managed to do well so far in that way too.
Right. So as a middle school kid, were you playing games? Were you into all sorts of these types of activities? What were some of your favorite games when you were in middle school?
Oh yeah, and I was a huge gamer. I mean, you name it, I probably played it. I was playing a lot of video games at the time, usually with my friends. A lot of my gaming most of it was social. But we dabbled in some of the odd games that were out there. Like they were text-based RPGs that we would play online, like when online was just starting to be a thing. And it's basically just you're typing in chat like my character does this, and you just do that in text. And they had a little dice roll system, and it's like, all right, I'm about to try and punch you, and you type something in and it rolls a dice, and then you get to see if you hit them or not.
What was the name of this? What was the name of this?
I don't even know the name of it. I know we were doing it through IRC chat. It was just text-based, so you could literally do it on any chat, any kind of chat system.
I see. And so y'all were making up the game as you went along, telling each other what was happening.
Yeah, and that we weren't making it up exactly. So there was some structure, and you could download a sheet of paper that kind of gave you the structure of how the game worked, and then but you executed it online. And so that kind of fits into RPGs, which is another community that I'm digging into more, tabletop RPGs, pen and paper role-playing games where everything is just right in front of you and in your head. And you're
So
all just
an RPG is, what's that stand for?
that's role-playing game. And so role-playing game is any game where you create a character, you put yourself in that role, you perform sort of all of the things that are happening in that. And usually they have some sort of random system that kind of determines the outcomes of what happens throughout the game. So yeah, like I said before, usually it's dice. And yeah, role-playing games are definitely in. There's a lot of people writing role-playing games right now. There's a lot of Black folks who are producing role-playing games and streaming role-playing games. Tanya DePass is one of the sort of like celebrities in that space right now. And there's a show called Rivals of Waterdeep, and it's a all people of color cast, and they play D&D every week, and it's hugely popular. And
what's D&D stand for?
D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. So it's one of the older, it's been around for a very, 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 very long time, but it's increased, like it's so much more popular in the last like 5 years. It's kind of exploded. But there's a lot of people making independent RPGs, and those are sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger, and they're coming out with their own. I have one that I wrote that's coming out in a book in November. It's a micro RPG, which is basically just one page of information, and you play the game off of that.
Can you kind of explain that for me a little bit? When you say a one-page RPG, is it like when you, because I'm going to base this off Monopoly, as cliche as that might be.
Yeah.
RPG, when you say I've written an RPG on one page, is that like, would that be the equivalent of me looking at the playing instructions of Monopoly? Is that what you're talking about?
It kind of works that way. So the RPG, the way if I'm a game designer and I'm writing an RPG, what that means is that I am providing you the structure to play a game. And usually there's some instructions, usually there's some guidelines for how the game sort of operates and the rules behind it. But then from that, you get to create the game that you want to create from that. And you have some control over things in that game as you're sort of playing it. Oftentimes, those games require somebody to be a game master and sort of control and keep track of everything that's going on.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
Game master. Yeah. So one person, basically they come to the game having a little bit more information about it. So they already know how to play most of the time. They know the rules, and usually they've created at least some sort of story behind the environment that they're putting the players into. So you might have 4 players, and you say, okay, y'all are adventurers, and this is the situation. And the game master describes the situation and say, hey, you all just dropped into this inn, and you overhear some people over there talking about a plot to kill the king. What do you do? And then it's a very open-ended kind of experience from there. And so, yeah, that's what the game master's role is, to just control, kind of not control, but to guide the game along and make sure that
to be the person who's familiar with what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, and they just guide the story and guide the action. And sometimes the players can take it into a different direction, and you have to adjust to that and figure it out. I mean, the goal of all of these games is really just to have a fun experience with whoever you're playing with. Yep. And so my favorite RPGs are ones that are flexible, that allow for a lot of different types of experiences. There's a great one called Kids on Bikes that sort of puts you into a Stranger Things type world. It's like
Kids on Bikes?
Yeah, it's called Kids on Bikes.
Okay.
I think Renegade Games is the company that put that one out. But yeah, that one puts you in a very different world that can turn into all sorts of things.
So I am very intrigued at what we're talking about right now because you're talking about a whole market that people might not be familiar with out there. I surely have not been familiar with it until this conversation. And people are always looking for content, positive content,
Yeah.
something to stimulate my experience. I mean, now more than ever, we're spending so much time in the house. It would be great to know a marketplace or to know about someone such as yourself where I could really get new games, learn about them, and get that experience. So I see this as a huge industry. I mean, is this like a fairly
Yeah.
large industry?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, tabletop RPGs specifically, they've been exploding like in the last 5 or 10 years. I think you're right. I think in general, the country and the world have they've found that these experiences are really good and really valuable and really useful when you're just talking about interacting with others, and just enjoying these experiences. I think a lot of people recognize how good they are, how fun they can be. And so very quickly, it's just ramping up. We're having so many more people getting involved in it now, that it's exciting to me. I'm only barely dipping my toe into the RPG world right now. I've only written 2 micro RPGs, and those that was hard work for me because it was a little bit outside of my game design world, because I mostly do board games and card games, but I'm trying. I like it. I like the concepts behind them, and I like how they're created. So who knows? Maybe I'll go that direction a little more, but we'll see.
Listen, when you start being creative, your potential becomes endless. The possibilities become endless, and we never know what's next from you.
I don't know what's next from me.
Even you don't know what's next from you. Yeah. Can you I want you to evaluate this thought. So they say that what has happened in the past is bound to repeat itself, right? I've seen how we've gone from a cassette tape all the way to, just flat out streaming entertainment now. And so do you think that we're going back to an era where people want to put their hands on something again?
100%.
Yeah. Are we reverting back to the era where people are going to be like, hey, I want to put my hands on this game. I want to shake those dice. I want to, lose a couple pieces and go and find it and use that as an interaction with my family.
I think there's 2 parts to it. I think the part you're describing is real. I think people that tangibleness, being able to put your hands on something, I think that is meaningful. But I think more so what's the case is because what you're describing, like so much has gone digital, like in the last 20 years, so much has shifted towards screen time and just interacting with devices, that people have been just having a craving for more in-person interaction with people. And I think these games are a very easy way to have to create those interactions. I think that's really the driving force behind the tabletop game industry exploding, is people being like, hey, you know what? I would rather be sitting around playing games with my friends than going to a bar. It's just like it's a different experience, and we get to have a very different experience. And
if you can talk about that, have you done that? Have you and your friends, you're obviously adults, played games instead of going out to the bar? And tell me what that experience was like.
All the time. I mean, my primary interactions, at least pre-COVID, were playing games with friends. Like, I'm going to your house to play games way more than we're going out. I actually started hosting a game night at a bar. That's also exploding. Before, we were like the 3rd game night. There were already 2 pretty established game nights, and so they had game nights at bars in the city. I'm in Durham, North Carolina right now, at 3 nights a week. So 3 nights a week, you could go to a bar and play games.
You know what? I think you're really onto something, because this is another instance where we've reached a bubble. People had been, at least pre-COVID, going out 4 or 5, 3 to 6 times a week, drinking, partying.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where it's the same old set of emotions. And you standing around and, you dance a little bit, you drink a little bit, but it's not as fun anymore. And people want to do something that's just nice, clean, fun. And so when you say, hey, let's incorporate some actual games here, it's a hit. They do a lot of that out here in New York as well. They have game nights, and you go and they're playing card games or they're popping balloons or something like that, and the line is down the street. So, I like the way that you connected that dot, because you can take your RPGs or your tabletop games and take them to the club as well.
I mean, and that's the fun thing about RPGs specifically. I could talk all day theoretically about it because I'm not really in it, but there's games that I've seen people design that are meant to play while you're out and about, which is another entirely strange concept to me. But I see the possibilities being so crazy. Yeah, I'm just like, there's so much potential there. And I know it's gonna manifest itself. Like, I know so many amazingly creative people in that space that are so good at just like creating something that I could never think of. There's games about walking down the street and like observing animals and squirrels and like connecting with them on some weird level. You name it, people are out here making games about it.
You know what? When you were talking about that, it made me laugh because I'm thinking about the videos I see on YouTube of everybody shopping at Target, and then a bunch of kids come in there acting like they're on the scene of Dragon Ball Z and they're jumping on top of counters and stuff like that. Or even a couple years ago when you might be at a drive-thru somewhere and people are out in the parking lot trying to catch Pokemon. And so games where people can kind of take them with them is a thing too. I think people are intelligent out there, and they're looking for things that could really create huge stimulus. And it's big. Now, I've been in residential treatment centers. I've been in penitentiaries, jails, and institutions where they love games. They love games. But the thing is, like, it's always a Connect Four from 10 years ago that they're still holding on to the pieces, or a chess game, from 2 generations ago, and the board is splitting apart. But then when you go get new game, it's a new chess board and it's a new Connect Four. I think that everybody could use a new set of games, man.
Oh, totally. I mean, the industry right now is growing so fast. I could say that probably there were 3,000 new games released last year.
Really?
So, yeah, the number is staggering, and a lot of it is due to Kickstarter being a way to fundraise a lot of these projects. So that's what we've used for our projects, and that's what we're using for our next one. But I think like there's games out there for everybody now. If you have to do a little bit of digging sometime to be able to find those stuff that really syncs with you. But yeah, there's so many games. I encourage everybody, if they are interested in any game right now, it's worth it. And Target and Barnes and Noble and Walmart, to some extent, they've changed the types of games that they have. If you go in a Target now, you're going to see way more new modern games than you will classics. They've actually they were the first to sort of jump on the bandwagon and get some of these newer games in.
Okay. Sierra Young says, I love how Monopoly has over 50 themes. Keep it interesting. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too.
Yeah, some people would argue that that's a little bit of a money grab on Monopoly's end, but I wouldn't say that. I think they are able to just do a lot with their brand, and I think they can capture and touch a lot of different people in a lot of different ways by doing that.
Is there a online marketplace for these thousands of games? I'm like wanting to dive into them. Where they at?
I mean, Kickstarter is a great place to start. Unfortunately, if you're doing Kickstarter, you're not getting a game until later. There are other marketplaces though. If you're just curious, about what's out there. Board Game Geek is sort of the central website for just everything that's out there. I use Board Game Geek because as a game creator, you kind of have to. It's a little hard for me to just navigate that site and understand. I think the site itself, because of just how long it's been around, has some oddities to it. Okay. But it will absolutely give you a lot of information very quickly about a lot of games. A lot of people look at the top 100 of that list, and there's some good games on there. A lot of them are heavier, more complex games, because I think that's what that industry, or the industry and that website was rooted, I think, more in the complex side of games, not necessarily the family games. Family games don't do super well on that website, with some few exceptions that just are amazing. Right. But I think the site tends to be more on the heavier, more complex game side. If you're looking for other stuff, there's lots of Facebook groups that are very, very, very useful to get information about games, and there's a lot of them have a great communities that are really friendly, and you can go in there and just be like, hey, I'm new to this. Can somebody help me kind of get started? Where should I look? And I'm sure they'll be very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Amari Akil. He has a wealth of knowledge in the board game industry, and we're going to get more knowledge from him, more insight, and more of his experience after this brief message. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. That was just a brief break because we're getting ready to show the folks a video of some of the work that you're doing. We're going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I see you all out there. Ryan Young, Jim Case, Sierra Young, Belinda Rivera, and others. Corinne and Yolanda, we love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to share the screen. Give me 1 second. Check this out.
There is a city, and in that city, there's a court. And on that court, there are gods. This is Hoop God, a head-to-head street basketball board game that is unlike anything you've seen before. Hoop God delivers the competitive, exciting, intense action that you'll find on the court in real life. Feel the thrill of draining a three-point shot over two defenders. Feel the pain of going up for a game with a dunk over the head and blocked out of the sky. First to score 7 points claims victory. The only question left to answer is, who got next?
Hey, I'm laughing because, you know, young people would love to be somewhere shaking some dice and moving pieces.
We got all the dice. I got all the dice right here. It's ridiculous. Just handfuls of dice.
just the sound of the dice is gonna have people looking for the game. Where's that game at? What do all the dice say on them? What are they functioning as?
So in Hoop Gods, you're using dice effectively to like battle with each other whenever there's some interaction that happens on the court where you need to know what happens, right? So like somebody's trying to steal and somebody else is trying to cross over. And then you roll the dice as fast as you can to try to get the right symbols so you can execute your move. So that's what the dice have on them. So that each dice has balls, hands, and feet, and that sort of represents how it works. Yeah. This is a little dice. Oh, it's not gonna focus, is it? Because I'm not on. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
I get the point, though.
Yeah,
nice.
There it is. Nice. And these are final. These are all our prototype pieces. But yeah, all the cards have on them a what do you call it? A pattern of symbols. And so as you're rolling the dice, you have to match the symbol that's on that card. So if I match the symbols, the two hands and the foot, then I'll do the block. Yeah, that's how you resolve it. All of the sort of things that happen on the court.
Now, this game is called Hoop Gods?
Hoop Gods, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who came up with the name Hoop Gods?
So it was not originally called Hoop Gods. The reason it ended up being called Hoop Gods is because our original game was called Rap Gods. And so when we started working on this game, I think the first name we came up for it was actually Court Kings. But we decided that we knew the art styles were the same. We knew the energy was the same. It was like, you know what? This is like kind of a follow-up to Rap Gods. Even though the gameplay is totally different, it really feels like it's in the same world. And so we ended up changing the name to Hoop Gods, to match the Rap Gods.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you where does the hip-hop influence lie with you guys? Because I definitely could see and hear the rap influence on the style of art, the overall expression that I was getting from Hoop Gods, like this affiliates with hip hop culture. But you also have another game called Rap Gods?
Yeah, so Rap Gods was our first game. We developed Rap Gods. I guess we started developing it in like 2017. And yeah, it took us about 2 years to kind of get that game ready to go, and then another year to publish it, have it produced and published. And then we sold out this year, the first print run.
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. It was a massive effort in the part of the community, the board game community, to help us sell those games. We actually had. So this was right after George Floyd was killed, and the Black Lives Matter movement was moving. And we had one person on Twitter that said, "Hey, we have Black designers, Black creatives in our space, and we need to show our support." And basically, Danny Quash was the person. He said, "If anybody buys Rap Gods from Board Game Brothers, I will donate $10 to Black Lives Matter for every game that gets purchased." And we were like, well, we can do that. if a random person can do it, then we can do it too. Yeah, sure. We'll put money behind this. And so we basically doubled that contribution. And then we had like 15 people jump in right after that, and they all were like, yeah, we'll match that. And we ended up selling all the games and raising $80,000 that we could donate. I think we donated to like 4 or 5 different organizations through that, because everybody just matched all the donations. Yeah, Black Lives Matter and these organizations, we donated more money to organizations than we made as a company through all that. And I'm so happy about it. Like I said, that was one of the big wins in terms of our company being able to support community, and because that's a huge thing for us. So hopefully we can keep doing it. Yeah. So that game sold out, and then shortly after that, we had already been working on Hoop Gods for a while. It was like, you know what, it's time. Let's produce this one. And so we're doing a Kickstarter campaign for Hoop Gods, but we're actually doing a reprint of Rap Gods. So we're going to have more of those. And yeah, you'll be able to buy Rap Gods and Hoop Gods in our new Kickstarter that's coming.
Where can also people buy the game through Kickstarter, or do you also have a website?
We have a website, but for the Kickstarter campaign that we're doing, you'll be able to basically support the Kickstarter, and in turn, when you do that, you can basically pre-order the games that way. And so that's going to be the primary way to get our games. But after the Kickstarter is over, of course, you'll be able to do it on our website too.
So people go to Kickstarter and they look up Board Game Brothers?
All of the, right now, all of the Kickstarter campaigns are under my name. So Omari Akil. So I have a profile there and you can see what we have going on. And I think, and I'll send you a link here to, and you can shoot that out too. It's a special link right now because it's the pre-launch site. So we actually launch our Kickstarter on the 21st. But this pre-launch site is available to anybody to get a notification. So basically you can go there and you can say, hey, I want to know when this goes live. And yeah, they'll be able to get that notification.
What's it like? Yeah. What's it like going through the creative process to create one of these games? Where does it start? Are you like sitting at Starbucks and you're like, hey, hand me an ink pen, hand me a napkin? How does it go?
I mean, you're not wrong. I got papers here with scribbles all over them now, because that is kind of the way it works. I mean, when we started with Rap Gods, the process was me and my brother initially trying to decide what a hip hop game even looks like. So often, there's sort of three main ways you can start creating a game. The first one is theme first, and that's been the way that we go about making games. So we decided we wanted a hip hop game. That's a hip hop theme. How do we make a game that matches that theme the best? We did the same thing for Hoop Guys. It's like, we want to make a street ball game. How do we make a game that matches street ball in the best way possible? But you can also develop games based on mechanic first. So you can decide, I want you to be able to roll dice to do this specific thing. And you can design a whole game around that. And I've seen people do that too. So yeah, everybody kind of has different approaches to how they go about designing games. Ours is almost always theme first, because what we recognize is just like, there's so many missing themes
out there
usually. Yeah. And really Black culture themes, like there was hardly any board games out there, especially when we started, that were things that we could like immediately relate to. So we decided to start there, and it was like, all right, let's make some games. Let's see what we can do. And my brother, he's kind of a OG hip hop head. He grew up with hip hop sort of becoming a real thing and flourishing in the 80s. So he was able to really kind of embody what hip hop is. And I think, like you said before, that's why a lot of it comes out in his artwork, because he lived that. He definitely did. Yeah, boom boxes and beat boys, like he was there. He was there for all of it.
What's it like? What's the gameplay like of Rap Gods? How does it flow and how does it go? I know you mentioned it first, but I'm still stuck there. How do you play Rap Gods?
So our idea behind Rap Gods was that hip hop is about storytelling. Okay. The greatest hip hop artists are master storytellers. And so the first piece to Rap Gods is that we wanted the game to allow you to create a story. And what better story in the hip hop world than the going from nothing to something? And so the gameplay revolves around basically 3 albums. So you have 3 albums, and then every album, you basically get to play 5 cards. You get 5 turns, and every card that you play is just an event that happens in your life and in your career. and every card that you play will earn you something to build up your rapper. And it's either going to be swag, it's going to be streets, which is like street cred, or it's going to be skills, which is your rap skills. And so every card you play builds you up in some way. And then you're just building yourself up, and you're trying to hit your goals. You're trying to hit your milestones. And we created different rapper cards. And so we made up kind of fictional rappers that embody all the different personas across hip hop. And so you play as a certain type of rapper, and you're trying to play cards that are better suited to that rapper. So, we have like a more of like a diva style rap artist. And if you're playing with that, then most of the cards that you're going to play are going to build up your swag, because like a diva has more swag. That's what they focus on. Whereas like we might have like a trap rapper who isn't necessarily focused on swag. They're more focused on kind of the street cred side a little bit. And so all the rappers kind of have their own like goals. And so you're just trying to do that. And the storytelling piece comes in because after you're done the game, you basically have a timeline of cards. And if you read across all of those cards, it tells your story from the beginning of the career to the end of your career.
Okay. Phenomenal. Now, so right now you guys are currently in Kickstarter, and how do you feel about the way it's going? And are you interested in creating some other types of games? I know you mentioned RPGs, you got board games. Yep. And so what's next? What are some other types of games? What's the difference between an RPG and a board game?
Yeah, I would say the question is easy to answer because the idea behind role-playing games is that it's not heavily component based. It's not necessarily about moving pieces around. It's not necessarily about playing cards. It's more about telling stories. Like, you are role playing. You sit there and you speak out what your character is speaking. Like, you're trying to put yourself in that space and in that mindset, and you're putting yourself into the game, really. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think for board games and card games, you are the components really drive everything that's happening in the game. It's more about the pieces.
Okay.
It's more about the mechanics themselves. Whereas in RPGs, it's more about the interactions between players and the storytelling that happens, and the worlds that you build within that.
Mm-hmm. From your perspective, why is it that when you think of, not you, but let's say me, games that you might be able to pick up at Walmart, why is there only like 10 games? And I know it's more than 10 games, but just hypothetical. I mean, all I can think of is Yahtzee, Scrabble, Monopoly, Uno.
I mean,
what's up?
I think what you're talking about is really the reason we started making games.
Okay.
Because we saw something that was different and interesting, and we realized that the message that these things existed was not reaching a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't reaching a lot of people. I mean, not intentionally, but just like nobody, it doesn't feel like the industry itself is doing any outreach. So the only people that find it are the people who are already kind of interested in those kinds of things. Okay. And they stumble into it. Like, I was already into games. I was already dabbling in kind of what RPGs were. So I was able to find it and fall into it. My brother didn't know anything about any of this stuff.
Right.
When we first started working on Rap Gods, I forced him to play like 25 different games with me. I was like, if you're going to make this game, you have to know what the industry looks like now, because it's very different. And so I think it's kind of an unintentional side effect of these industries not specifically trying to spread the word that they exist. They end up only kind of reaching people who are already interested in it.
Okay.
And so that's why we got into games, because we knew that if we could make a different type of game that could just reach different people. And we're also out here talking about it and telling people that all these games exist, because it's fantastic. And we haven't seen anything like this, at least in the past few years. It's just been going crazy.
I sure haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't at all. And you all are now my favorite board game makers.
Cool.
Yeah, man, I'm a big fan. And I look forward to getting a Rap Gods and what's the other one?
Hoop Gods. Yeah.
Gods. Yeah, I want both of them.
Yeah, well, we actually just announced yesterday. So the Kickstarter isn't live yet. We go live on October 21st. But we announced yesterday that we are doing a bundle. So you'll be able to get both of those for $85 plus shipping. You'll be able to order those as a part of the Kickstarter. And we're hoping a lot of people who are new come in and be like, hey, it's just two good games for, not too expensive.
That's right.
Might as well jump in. And it's a whole different world. Like if people just want to talk about games, with me, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I can tell you all about it.
Right. Talking about games, just like talking about any of a number of things is one aspect of it, but actually getting involved is where the real experience is. So, there's going to be nothing like actually opening this game or opening this experience and getting into it and having that value. Like, yesterday I beat you at Rap Gods, yesterday I beat you at Hoop Gods. Like, that's going to be a new thing. I mean, you're creating a new type of culture when you do that. And what could be more exciting in this day and age than to be a part of a new culture, a new sector, a new market? You guys are tapping into a new market.
Yeah, I mean, we think it's there. It's been hard. One of the things I think that's been a little bit tricky, and so your response to this feels new and different. A lot of the times when we tell people, it was like, hey, we made a game, we're making games, we're making board games. A lot of the times the response is, oh yeah, I'll look at that. Maybe it's for my kids, but all of
what's up with that? People always want to cascade something down to the kids. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't understand it personally. I'm like, no, like everybody that I play games with is like in their 30s and 40s. Like we are adults who love playing games. And I don't know why people automatically just like, yeah, let that cascade down. It that part doesn't make sense to me. But a lot of the hesitation in like getting our games is like, it's for kids, and we don't market it that way. We're starting to talk more about the sort of like family aspect of it, but our games are designed for adults. If kids have fun with them, great, but they're designed for adults.
One last question, and we're rounding third base here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the pressure to change your narrative when you're trying to bring something to market? For instance, just like you're saying, you and your brother, your team, you guys are creating a game. You're not necessarily thinking about 5-year-olds when you create the game, but when you go to bring it to market, people say, hey, well, if it's a game, then it should be for kids, or else I don't see the market cap then. How does that pressure make you feel, and how do you guys deal with it going forward?
It's something that I think in a lot of what we do, especially in our marketing, we have stayed true to our core message as much as possible. I think that's more important than just trying to sell games to whatever perceptions people have. I think it's more important because ultimately we're trying to create a different type of fan. And if our message is consistent and it's like, no, we produce games for anybody to play, and kids or no kids, it doesn't matter. We produce games for everybody. The people who latch onto that, they're going to share our message the same way that we do. And I think we'll get better. We'll build a better community that way. I think we'll get better reach and more quality customers who are attached to what it is that we do, and they'll spread our message better than we can, right? Like the word of mouth piece is really what sells things. And if you can have a message that really connects with people, then your fans are going to do the work for you. And so we stay true most of the time.
That's good to hear. Another great company, going great places. And we all wish you the most success. All the best to you guys. Hey, Omari, our time is up here. But I want to let you know that I've listened to your journey. I've listened to your story, the products that you guys are creating. Shout out to your brother. Shout out to your whole team. Are great. And I think that we need these types of experiences in our community. We need you to put your creativity and your mind and your expertise into something that's going to help us to have fun. Look at the world that we're living in today. We want to have a good time. We want to have a good time. And so I want to give you a crown today. While you're still living, I want to pay your respect by giving you a crown today and let you know I respect your journey and let the world know that Omari Akil, you are America's next motivator.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Please do. Let all your friends and family know that you were here today on America's Next Motivator. This will be a place where you guys can keep us updated about your board games, your Kickstarter journey, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future, all right?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for stopping by, Omari.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do, just like you did today, is stop by and pick it up.